I hope it is all set. We can start now. Yes. All right. Good morning, everyone. So today is 22nd of May. This is somehow June has been mentioned. So this is 22nd of May, and we are ready with the daily current affairs, right? So we'll be starting with the quote of the day as always. So yes, we have this quote as of now. So this quote is about the very practical aspect of life, we can say, and here you can see that your time is limited. Do not waste, it living for someone else's life. So simply with respect to the UPSC preparation, we can relate it like that when you are having particular dreams or you are having certain objectives in your life, it is very important that you are working for those objectives, and in you are actually devoting your time in your dreams or your goals which you have set for your life. Okay, so that way we should be proceeding, and we should be very oriented towards our very objective of life, we can say. Okay, so with this particular understanding, we can now proceed with the first issue of the day, and this issue is related to the online harassment. Okay, so the tagline is tackling online harassment, and basically here we can see that the recent incident which took place in case of, we can say, the public figures like the Pahalgam terror victim. Okay, and India's foreign secretary were targets of online abuse. Okay, so these kind of issues are ongoing, and definitely we are aware of when it comes to the online, we can say, or the access to the social media. uh, it is actually very easy for anyone to approach that and log into their account and write anything whatever they want. So definitely there has to be certain kind of regulations, there has to be certain kind of mechanism through which we can actually bring out the control over the, we can say, the kind of online content we are providing, and definitely we should be making sure that this should not be leading towards the online harassment or the harassment itself. Okay, so we have seen that when the Pahalgam took place, then after that the media briefing was done by the India's foreign secretary, and also the other, we can say, women colonels, and the other army the officers. So basically they were subjected to some kind of, we can say, abuses, the online abuses. So basically the issue is related to that. Okay, so after peaceful and diplomatic statements, and these cases highlights the increasing abuse of cyberbullying in India and urgent need for better laws, platform responsibility, and victim support. Okay, so let me tell you about some example. Basically, uh, when it comes to online content, so as of now we do not have that much strict legislation, and somehow we are aware of that the era in which we are living in, it is very important that we are having legislation for this kind of practices. Okay, and many a times there are so many issues which are coming out of these kind of, we can say, the incidences. For example, when the farmer protest was going on, so at that point of time the environmentalist Greta Thunberg was writing in Twitter, and same was we can say, same kind of ideas were propagated by the Disha Ravi, the Indian women, right? So that controversy is known by the controversy of, we can say, toolkit, that you are giving the idea, you are provoking the farmers so that they will be following the kind of steps which you are suggesting through the online platforms, and this may leading to the provocation of the farmers. ठीक है, उसके वजह से farmers provoke हो सकते हैं, and they may be disturbing the peace and harmony in the society, and they may be disturbing the functioning of government also. तो वहां पे भी यही issue आया था कि whether what you can write online in the social media and what you can't write, है ना. So that is the issue. which we are talking here. So here we are talking about when the we can say foreign secretary and any colonel, anyone is giving the media briefing. So in return, what they are getting? The abuses, the harassment. So we should be having certain mechanism which can actually restrict and which can actually control, we can say, these kind of abuses. Okay. So here we have the online abuse, we can say. So online abuse include the hostile behavior through digital means, like ranging from threats and humiliation or data breaches. It affects individual and the communities across platform, right? So communities across platforms, all these issues we used to face actually. Okay, so let's proceed further. So what all, we can say, forms of digital harassment we have? So you can see forms of digital harassment. First we have is cyberbullying. Okay, so repeated digital threats or insults mean to cause emotional distress. This is something called as cyberbullying, where we are having the repeated digital threats and insult meant to cause emotional distress, right? So definitely cyberbullying is also one of the digital harassment. Then we have the cyber stalking. Okay, so persistent and intrusive digital monitoring causing fear. Okay, persistent and intrusive, we can say, digital monitoring. So that is also something causing fear, and it is called as the cyber stalking. Okay, then trolling, so posting inflammatory content to provoke or disturb the users, that is called trolling. Then we have doxing, which is the illegal sharing personal information online, right? Then we have the revenge porn, disturbing intimate images without consent, that is also the, we can say, online harassment. And catfishing, so falsely assuming someone's identity online to deceive. Okay, so these are forms of, we can say, digital harassment. And India scenario हमारे पास क्या है? With over 85% of children affected, India leads globally in cyberbullying. Okay, so what was the cyberbullying? Repeated digital threats and insult mean to cause emotional distress. So 85% of children, Indian children are affected, and India leading in case of cyberbullying cases, we can say. So tactics include rumor spreading, social exclusion, and verbal abuse, right? आजकल we are aware of कि when someone is being targeted, तो उसको इतना ज़्यादा वायरल किया जाता है कि it becomes difficult for that person to sustain, and it becomes difficult for that person to have their kind of argument. Okay, I will not be naming, but you can understand that the people who make we can say statements against the government, and many times so many the people will be starting targeting those kind of individuals. So irrespective of whether those individuals, whether that particular individual was making the right statement or the wrong statement, but once the public opinion is being generated, it becomes really difficult for that particular individual to have their voice also, because ultimately public opinion matters. And when it comes to online, so when we are talking about the religious aspect, or when we are talking about the nationality or the we can say patriotism, so these kind of issues creates large scale support for support of public, we can say. So people who will be making the counter argument may be sometimes good, but they will be still can be are being countered, and they can be countered actually, because spread of social media is too high. Okay, so this is the Indian scenario that we have. Okay, now we have certain relevant laws. So first of all, we have the IT Act of 2000, which is there with respect to the these kind of, we can say, online harassment. Okay, and then we have the section 66 C, that is identity theft. Section 66D is related to online, we can say, impersonation, right? Impersonation. Then we have the section 67 obscene material sub transmission, right? So for different we can say issues, we have different sections of this particular act. Then Digital Personal Data Protection, DPDP, the Data Protection Act came in 2023. We are aware of it. Penalizes, negligence leading to data misuse, right? Then IT rules 2021 require digital platforms to trace origin of offensive content. So basically, we do not have that exhaustive information, we can say, with respect to the laws, but you can just have that idea that particularly IT Act 2000. Then we have the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, which is also there. Okay, and IT rules 2021. So these basically, the laws are available in case of India with respect to the cyberbullying, or with respect to, we can say, the what you call online harassment. Okay, so judicial references, what has been mentioned by the judiciary in this regard, and what challenges we have, we'll look into this. So here we have, that is Shavya Sharma versus Kent Neon, recognize harm caused by the doxing. Okay, so here we have basically recognize that harm that has been caused by doxing. Shreya Singhal versus Union of India 2015, it invalidated 66A for violating free speech, and this 66A belonging to IT Act 2000 only. Okay, so basically this act was very controversial, this particular section of IT Act 2000. Why? Because whenever anyone will be writing anything in the social media, so this section can be invoked. Okay, and accordingly people can be punished. Okay, right? For example, there was incident in we can say, in case of Mumbai, and in the Maharashtra particularly, we can say. Okay, so Mumbai, right? So what happened is, when the Bal Thackeray died, so at that point of time, large scale, the support was there, or people were willing to meet, and they were observing their mourning, right? So at that point of time, for 2 days, completely the Mumbai was shut down, right? So in counter to that, two women wrote in Facebook, and they mentioned that just because of one leader, whole of the Mumbai is shut down, which is not that good idea, right? So those two girls were arrested. Why? Because public peace and harmony may be disturbing, just because of you are writing something over the Facebook. Okay, so but definitely you can say that those women may not be that wrong, because they were just expressing their ideas that why the complete Mumbai is shut down. But हमें दूसरे साइड में ये भी समझना पड़ेगा that if anyone is making use of freedom of speech, definitely it's fine, one should be using, but at the same point of time, we are also supposed to make sure that public peace and harmony should not be disturbed, because अगर वो disturb हो गई, so that is also a big problem. There may be conflicts also within the communities, right? Within the, we can say, between the followers of Bala Sahib Thackeray and the other people. So that is also we are supposed to maintain. So इसीलिए we have a provision that fundamental rights will be provided, but they are subjected to reasonable restriction, or reasonable restrictions हो रहे हैं. We are imposing the section 66A of the IT Act, we can say 2000, right? Then we have KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India case 2017, affirmed privacy is fundamental right. Yes, this is very significant and landmark judgment in the KS Puttaswamy case, that privacy has been mentioned as the, we can say, a fundamental right. Okay, right to privacy. And recently we have the another fundamental right which has been included in this, and that is called as the digital access. Okay, all right. So now we have the challenges. Okay, so no dedicated cyber harassment law. First of all, this is the challenge. Existing laws independently address persistent digital abuse and group trolling. Okay, point number one, existing laws inadequately address digital, we can say, address persistent digital abuse and group trolling. Point number one. Then two is platform gaps. So companies lack effective and moderation strategies in India, right? Then legal ambiguity. So vague definition in the Data Protection Act, and then we have the कैन बी ऑफेंडर एक्सप्लॉइट लूपहोल्स, तो यहाँ पे क्या है, वेग डेफिनेशंस है, वी हैव नॉट क्लैरिफाइड द थिंग्स, ऐसा बोल रहे हैं. देन इन्फोर्समेंट शॉर्टफॉल, वीक पुलिसिंग, पुअर ट्रेनिंग, victim blaming are prevalent. Yes, this is very significant idea that our enforcement agencies may not be competent enough, may not be capable enough to deal with these kind of cases, क्योंकि उनकी ट्रेनिंग नहीं हुई है. They are not that we can say able that they can deal with these kind of cases, and there are so many we can say the shortfalls, or there are so many loopholes which can be invoked. So because of that, we are not able to bring about curb on the cyberbullying, or we can say the online harassment we are having, that we face. Okay. So now we should add some suggestions also. So in this regard, definitely we can say, first of all, the government should be coming up with a comprehensive law which will be dealing with these kind of issues which we are facing. Like recently, a professor from the Ashoka University has also been arrested. So we are actually supposed to look into whether these kind of people are somewhere they were wrong or not. So actually we should have the comprehensive laws, and most importantly, we should be having the speedy trial and speedy justice, because unnecessarily people should not be behind the bars. That we are supposed to make sure. Okay, so I hope this idea is clear that online harassments are going on, so it is high time that we are able to check what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. Okay, so that completes our first topic. Now we will be moving on to the next. So here we have the urban flooding in Bengaluru. Urban flooding in Bengaluru. This is the another topic that we will be talking about. Let's look into if any comments or anything is there, so we can reply. Yeah. So urban flooding, basically, whenever we are having this particular season, so many times we used to see that problem of urban flooding arises. Okay, so every time we are having these kind of problems in some or the other cities, so definitely it is the problem. And it is, if we are talking about the relation with respect to the syllabus, so we can say that it is related to the disaster management part of our syllabus, which is available in case of the GS paper 3. Okay, right. So urban flooding in Bengaluru. So here you can see that Bengaluru has experiencing intense downpour over 130 minimum of we can say rainfall within a half day, resulting in flash flood, and calamity led to loss of lives, property damage, and disrupted city's life. Okay, and yes, last year only in the month of July, we saw this urban flooding example in our locality also, that is in the old Rajendra Nagar, and that particular the sorrow we can say incident took place. So somehow these are the problems of so many cities. So you can see understanding the urban flooding, why they are taking place. So basically, they occurs when the cities receive heavy rainfall that overwhelm their drainage system, because drainage system is not that good that whole of the water can be managed. Okay, leading to rapid accumulation of water, and this phenomenon is intensified by poor urban planning and infrastructure limitations, right? So when we will not be having sound infrastructure and the drainage system, definitely these kind of problems will be coming. And as I mentioned last year, when the incident took place in old Rajendra Nagar, now this year we are preparing ourselves for the management of the water, or we can say management of drainage system in case of, we can say, those along those streets. But the problem is, every time we are responding when the problem is arising, why we are not able to take the proactive measures? because at that point of time when the incident was was taking place, so that before that, we didn't provide for the, we can say, the cleaning of the streets and the drainage that we had. So if we would have came up with that, definitely we may have saved some lives or the all the damage that took place. But after measures we are taking and which are going on, okay. So basically, when we will be having these kind of issues, so like when accumulation is taking place and so much of pouring is taking place in the drainage, definitely it causes the problem. Okay. So what are the causes that we have for the urban flood? First of all, we need to understand. So here we have the heavy monsoon showers, especially the southwest monsoon. City terrain has natural depressions that retain water. This is also, very true, and we need to understand this also, that any city which is facing the problem of urban flood, it is definitely facing the problem because of the very natural reason. Because when the urban development will be taking place, so the kind of infrastructure, the kind of the buildings, the kind of roads that we are constructing, so definitely it will not be possible for the water to flow that easily, right? So definitely that is the problem. This is the problem, because we have to have certain kind of infrastructure, but definitely we cannot say this is very natural and this cannot be avoided. Definitely with better planning and better management, it can be avoided. Okay, but first reason somehow we are writing this. So this is the natural phenomena. Then we have the human induced. So encroachment on lakes, the wetlands. 79% of Bengaluru's water bodies have disappeared in 4 decades, right? So if encroachment will be taking place in the lakes and the wetlands, definitely there will be uh, water will not be finding ways, and these kind of the saviors or these kind of areas which are available, how it will be possible for to have the efficient drainage system, right? Then inefficient maintenance of storm water drainage, that is Raj Kalus, right? Then building codes and city plans have not evolved to meet the population density and climate risk. And बस इसी तरीके से infrastructure development हो रहा है, and somehow we are not able to bring about the efficient building codes. तो हमारे पास अभी in case of any city you can see like 3 floor, 4 floor, and the drainage, even the drainage is being covered, and there are so many unorganized infrastructure are being developed. So because of that, we are not able to understand in the short run. Definitely they are causing problem to us only, so that we are supposed to understand that whatever we are doing today, that has to meet the that should be meeting the demand of the future generation also, right? If we are able to understand all of that awareness we are able to have, definitely these issues can be avoided. Okay, next is infrastructure has to be developed on the natural floodplains and disjoint government with the poor coordination between the civic agencies. So koi coordination nahi hai, and MCD how they are working, how the government is working, actually there is so much of problem, right? Now the impact, so fatalities and damaged neighborhood, that is we have the Kora, Mangala and the Belendur. So these areas are being affected, and economic fallout, especially in the IT corridor, because urban flood will be taking place, so everything will be affected. Definitely economic fallout will be taking place. Then health risk due to stagnant water and contamination. Okay, definitely this kind of health risk will be also coming. Then breakdown of transport and power services because of the urban flood. So it is very important that we are able to have check on that, so that we will be having overall development and effective management will be there. Then we have the global example. So here you can see that Singapore uses sensor-based flood alert system that we can actually employ, and Netherlands expands river space to manage overflow. River space को उन्होंने expand किया है. We can also go for that. Then China implements sponge cities that absorb water using natural elements, and then US New Orleans that is develop floating homes adaptable to the floods. So these are the global examples which have been taken. Actually, we can note them, and actually we can apply in case of India also, because we are facing quite some examples we can say like this. So it is very important that something like this also we are coming up with. And at the first place, definitely the comprehensive policy, the integration of the urban needs, and the we can say the incorporating the natural calamities, and we are actually well prepared for the season like which is coming because of the southwest monsoon. Okay, so all these things are important, and I hope this idea is also very clear. Now the next topic that we will be talking about is climate physical risk, CPR. So climate physical risk topic is the next that we are supposed to talk. Okay, yes. So now we will be looking into this. So basically context is that Home Minister emphasized coordinated action on climate hazard, and current approaches are fragmented and lack nationwide consistency. So as of now, we are having the fragmented approach and nationwide consistency is missing. Okay. So what is CPR? So first of all, we'll understand that. So climate physical risk involve threats from both short term, that is flood and heat waves, and the long term, that is drought, rainfall shift, weather changes. Okay, and it is accessible, that is accessed as assessed as CPR, that is hazard exposure into vulnerability, right? So hazards will be taking place, exposure, and it will be leading to the, we can say all of them are comprising the, we can say CPR, that is climate physical risk, hazards, exposure, and vulnerability. Okay, so I hope this is making good sense that here we are having the physical involved risk, which is both short term mein kya hai, floods and the heat wave, and the long term mein drought and the rainfall shift. Okay, so it is comprising the, it is making the CPR, we can say physical climate physical risk, hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. Okay, so all of them are making this climate physical risk. Okay, then what is the global trend in this regard? So here you can look into global trend. So climate risk disclosure is becoming mandatory. Okay, so EU ISSB framework. Then we have the developed and developing nations like alike face climate emergencies. So both of them are actually facing the climate emergencies. That is whether it is developed or the, we can say, developing country. Now, what is the status of India? So in case of India, over 80% of the population resides in the disaster-prone zones, and CPR data is fragmented among various institutions lacking unified access. Okay, and what has been the key issues? Lack of integration across government departments. Global models don't account for India's localized climate variability. Then we have absence of centralized database with district level details, and private sector has limited access to tools for the risk analysis. So all these issues we are facing. Then ongoing efforts. So basically adaptation communication report that is submitted UPSC, we can say the National Adaptation Plan. Okay, submitted to this, like we have actually the adaptation community report we have submitted to UPSC, and National Adaptation Plan, it is in progress, aiming for district level detailing, and RBI incorporating CPR into banking oversight. Okay, so yes, it is very important. The last thing that we are having, RBI is incorporating the CPR into, we can say, banking oversight. So how the banking system will be affected by this, that has also been incorporated by the RBI in its, we can say, analysis. Okay, now we have the next issue, that disinformation in India, a rising threat. Disinformation हो रही है. So this is related to the, we can say the first topic that we talked about. And what is that first topic? So first topic was related to, we can say, the online harassment. So यहाँ पे उससे related topic ही है that we have disinformation. Okay, so disinformation in India, a rising threat. So you can see here again in that only, like the India-Pakistan war. So excuse me, at that point of time, during the Pakistan-India standoff, misinformation circulated rapidly on social media platform, exposing serious gaps in India's digital information ecosystem. Because that was showing that somehow we were not able to get the authentic information. And whenever these kind of issues are there, we are dependent on certain kind of, we can say, news channels and the certain kind of, we can say, media agencies which will be providing the information to us. But when we are not getting that authentic information, so it will be leading for the this, we can say, misinformation. So disinformation, we can say, it will be rising threat. तो फिर जब एक authentic source है नहीं हमारे पास, so definitely information can be float in any manner, because उसको check करने के लिए ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं. So definitely some, we can say, authentic sources should be there so that people can check and they will not believe. But with a growing use of, we can say, social media, anyone is writing anything, whatever information they are having. So based on that, people are being manipulated. So this information is there, that is this problem is there, disinformation in India, a rising threat. Okay. So first of all, here we have the overview. So what issue we have in front of us? So you can see that recent study by Lokniti CSDS, title Media in India, Access, Practices, Concerns and Effect 2022, revealed that misinformation on social media platform heavily influences public trust. लोग reels देखते रहते हैं, and based on that people are are being manipulated, are being their minds are being changed. Okay, heavily influences public trust and behavior. How people will be behaving, this misinformation is actually able to influence that, able to decide. So report is also finding widespread alarm about fake news and inaccurate content being shared online. This is the issue. Okay. Then similarly, Reuters Institute Digital Loss Report 2024 found that over 70% of India now consume news digitally, with nearly half relying on platforms like YouTube, 54%, and WhatsApp, 48% as primary source. So these are the sources, and we are aware of that nowadays so many YouTube channels are being launched, and the private, so and you may not be aware of also, and we have very we are very less concerned about that also. For example, you are logging to your YouTube and somehow one particular person is sharing some news. So what is the authenticity of that news? How you can trust on that particular news? We are least bothered, actually. At least we can say the majority of the population is least bothered, because yes, some people will be there, they will be able to understand, they will be able to take that pain, whether the information that is being provided is coming from the authentic sources or not. But you just think about the entire population of India. Do you think that it will be possible for everyone to have that check on the information? So that is the issue. Okay, we are dependent on YouTube. So YouTube में जो दिखाया जा रहा है, and the WhatsApp में जो information share की जा रही है, so people are believing on that. Okay, World Economic Forum Global Risk Report 2024 has identified India as one of the nation most susceptible to harms of disinformation driven by AI generated content, unregulated digital influencer, algorithm based, we can say, content delivery system. इनकी वजह से we can say so much of problem is there, so much of problem, and somehow we are not able to come up with the we are not able to come up to the reality, and misinformation we are having. And why we are having at most at the receiving end? Because because uh, because the kind of, we can say, the population, the kind of size of population that we have, it is actually very, we can say, what you call problematic. It is very difficult for us to provide the authentic information, because you know because uh, we have multiple sources, we have large population, so it becomes difficult. And also when we are having uh, the kind of political system, the kind of nature of society that we have, so it becomes very difficult. We can say we are very vulnerable to that. So that's why we can say World Economic Forum is also highlighting about this issue. So India's disinformation crisis. India's disinformation crisis. So here you can see, first is because of the India's, I will be changing the color so that it will be more visible. Yes. So India's disinformation crisis. Okay. Number one, we have a surging internet usage. So with internet usage set crossing the 900 million, India faces heightened risk of, we can say, digital misinformation without a strong policy safeguard, right? So if we are having this much of volume, definitely, so much of things will be there to regulate. So first of all, the India's disinformation crisis. First of all, we have large number of users, the internet user, we can say, which is crossing 900 million. Okay, so this is the issue number one. The issue number two that we have is diverse society, increased vulnerability. Yes. So India is a complex socio-political and linguistic diversity, making it prime target for, we can say, manipulative content and aimed at dividing public opinion and influencing elections. Yes. Very important, and this is the most significant issue that we are having as of now, because when variety of people will be residing in India, it will be very much possible that people will be having conflict between themselves only, right? So if people are having different kind of, we can say, identity, so in that case, if we are not having the proper regulation, then yes, it will become very difficult for, we can say, for the authorities, for any government to manage, because government is someone who is supposed to look after everyone, right? But when we have so much of diversity, so what kind of content should be flowing in the social media, what kind of content should not be flowing in the social media, it is very crucial, or it is very, we can say, important. Okay, so for example, I was talking about the Balasaheb Thackeray example. So at that point of time, you just imagine that if we are having the kind of population which is having so much of uniformity, and all of the people are belonging to one particular religion, all of them, right, or one particular identity. So definitely, let's say we just can consider Mumbai as whole of the country, like Mumbai is all of the country. Okay, so all of the people residing in Mumbai are having same kind of, we can say, emotion, same kind of we can say belief, same kind of we can say ideas with respect to the Balasaheb Thackeray. So everyone will be convinced with that, everyone is the follower, so there will be so much so less issues, we can say. But when we are having a very diverse society and increased vulnerability, definitely there will be problem. So एक तो हमारे पास internet usage बहुत ज़्यादा है, then we have the diverse society and increased vulnerability. So this is a big problem for India. Okay, then we have the wider impact beyond politics. And yes, उसे एक चीज और यहाँ पे डिस्कस करेंगे, diverse society and increased vulnerability. So when it comes to influencing the public opinion and the elections, it becomes very important, because as I mentioned that when the people are not having that good awareness, which is the case with majority of the population in India, right? Because we don't have that 100% literacy or that that aware population. Okay, so when we are having lack of awareness, तो हमारे यहाँ election कैसे होंगे? Some or the other way misinformation will be spread, right? And when the misinformation will be spread, so politicians will be making sure that information should be touching the very core of the individuals. कुछ ऐसी बात करेंगे कि उनके रिलीजन, उनके द इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट को टच करेंगे, देन पीपल माइंड्स एंड द पीपल बिहेवियर कैन बी डाइवर्टेड, और वैसा होता है यहाँ पे. सो पब्लिक ओपिनियन and the influencing elections. Election के time पे कुछ भी बोलेंगे, so at that point of time better mobilization of people takes place. So basically this is happening because of diverse society, increased vulnerability. Okay. So wide impact beyond politics, disinformation contributes to, we can say, consumer protest, economic strain, and even cross-border tensions. So disinformation, yes, it will be generating the cross-border tension, also contributes to consumer protest. ठीक है, consumer protest भी हो रही है उसकी वजह से, because people are able to influence the behavior, economic, we can say, strain, and even the cross-border tensions. So इसकी वजह से cross-border tensions भी हो रही है, right? Now we can move further. So here we have declining faith in traditional media, declining faith in traditional media. So basically, the public confidence in legacy media is waning. So what does it mean? What it stands for? So basically, people increasingly dependent on social media, where information often is spread unchecked and trusted because it's shared by acquaintances. Okay. So what we have, public confidence in legacy media. So लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? The kind of information that we are spreading, they spread unchecked and it is trusted because they are shared by the acquaintances, like people, the authentic sources, or we can say the information, the sources of the information are somewhat, we can say, the legitimate sources. For example, they have we have very established media platforms, and the information is coming from those sources. So definitely there is high possibility that people will be taking that information and people will be receiving that information. So it is very we can say the idea that we are able to actually have this the misinformation. Okay, so we have the declining faith in the traditional media. That is another issue. Then we have the youth demographic at risk. So what is the issue? That large number of young Indians are regularly exposed to misleading online content, okay, and most lack formal digital education to evaluate authenticity of the information. लोगों को पता नहीं है कि how to check the authenticity of information. For example, many a times we may have seen that for example, UPSC notification is supposed to come on let's say this 30th of May. Okay, so यहाँ पे क्या होगा, that so many fake advertisement will be floating on that particular day. अब the less aware people, जो लोग उस authenticity को check नहीं करेंगे, so what they will do, they will be doing they will be just reading out that information और उसको ही सच मान लेंगे. But जो aware लोग होंगे, the people who understand things, so they will be downloading it from the UPSC website. Okay, and also if they are finding in some Telegram group or something, because आजकल तो वही मिलता है, so they should be having that understanding कि वहां पे जो advertisement में लिखा गया है, actually that is something authentic. If they are finding any text or any kind of ideas which is not that convincing, तो उनको cross check करना चाहिए. But there are so many other ideas, but the UPSC is very famous exam and everyone knows that, तो चलिए यहाँ तो छोड़ देते हैं. But now you understand, for example, कहीं पे some clerical vacancies have been released by any staff selection body, So it is very easy कि वहां पे उसको मैनिपुलेट किया जा सकता है. It is very easy. People will trust, नई वैकेंसी आ गई है, and people will rely on that. So हमारे पास क्या इशू है? Most lack formal digital education. Formal digital education नहीं है. We don't know how to check the authenticity of that particular information. So that is also a problem. So huge democratic risk. Then we have the loose content oversight. Loose content oversight. So what is the meaning? This we have. So despite guidelines from Ministry of Consumer Affairs, influencers led to health fitness videos, okay, often mixed back with promotion. Content creators exploit emotional triggers, okay, and viral trend without accountability. तो इसको भी हमें समझने की जरूरत है. Despite guidelines from the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, okay, influencer-led health or the fitness videos often mixed fact with promotion. तो वहां पे Ministry of Consumer Affairs guidelines दे रही है, you can't have the promotion, but still promotion वहां पे आ रहा है, and हमारे पास loose content oversight है. We are not able to check whether they are promoting or what they are doing, okay, and content creator exploit emotional triggers and viral trend without accountability. This issue we are facing, okay, and when it comes to, we have the content, we can say current legal and regulatory framework. तो constitutional provisions हमारे पास क्या है? Article 19 subclause 1 subclause A guarantees freedom of speech and expression, and Article 2 allows for reasonable restriction on the ground of public morality and order. So existing laws, first of all, we have the Consumer Protection Act 2019. So it restricts the deceptive advertisements and the influencer misconduct. Point number one. Then we have the Information Technology Act 2000 that we have already talked about. So section 66 is 66A, which we have discussed, and 67 deals with digital fraud and obscenity. So at least we should be aware of this. That is Consumer Protection Act 2019, and then Information Technology Act 2000. Okay. Then intermediary guidelines. So mandate content transparency and origin tracking. So this is also that we have in place. And उसके बाद हमारे पास defamation law है, that offers the legal remedies against damaging or false statement. Okay, so this also we have. These are the legislation that we have. Okay, उसके बाद हमारे पास self regulatory measures है. So here you can see there is ASCI, Advertising Standard Council of India, promotes ethical content but lacks legal enforcement. It is promoting the ethical content, but it is lacking in what? We can say the promoting the ethical content but lacks the legal enforcement. This is the issue. Advertising Standard Council of India promoting the ethical content but legal enforcement कमी है. So that is also required. Legal enforcement should be there. And financial influences are regulated by, we can say, the SEBI and RBI. Right? Now we have some other recommendations. So recommendations from, we can say, Global Risk Report 2025. So first one, the strengthen tech oversight, train AI developers to reduce bias in digital system, establish oversight bodies for AI regulation, ensure routine risk audit by major digital platforms. So all these things we are supposed to look into. It is very, very important that we are able to have the strengthening, tech oversight. Point number 1. 2, enhancing digital literacy. So expanding nationwide awareness campaign so that people will be aware of how to make use of the digital media or the social media. So digital literacy को बढ़ाने की जरूरत है. Introduce critical thinking into schools and colleges. सबको पता होना चाहिए कि what kind of information they should be digesting, what kind of information they should not be taking. तो हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? Introducing critical thinking into schools and colleges. Regulate major tech companies. So use India's large user base to pressure platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook to comply with the strong moderation and transparency norms. So it is very important that we are regulating the major tech companies like the, we can say, WhatsApp and the Facebook or जो भी social media platforms है, so that obscene content or inadequate content can be stopped. Then we have support press freedom. So create legal safeguard for the journalist and the whistleblowers facing online harassment. So हमें क्या करना है, प्रेस की फ्रीडम को लेकर आना है, and it is very important that press is providing the real information. They are not biased by any, we can say, kind of ideas, or they are very free to express any kind of ideas. So it is very important that we are able to have the support for the freedom, support press freedom, because अगर press free नहीं होगा, so at that point of time, in the influence of any particular, we can say, individual or the, we can say, the institution, they may be floating the misinformation. So it is very important that we are supporting the we can say press freedom. Okay, then we have this, that is foster global collaboration. So build regional alliances to share strategies and intelligence against misinformation, collaborative internationally on best practices and unified regulatory framework. So all this we are supposed to bring about, fostering the global collaboration, so that we will be able to have the, we can say, check on the functioning of media, right? Okay, now we have some of the issues under the know your fact section. Know your fact section के अंदर हमारे पास क्या है आज? Golden Temple. So this is the holiest, we can say, Sikh shrine in Amritsar, initiated in 1577 by Guru Ramdas ji, completed by Guru Arjan Dev ji. Okay, and interfaith harmony represented by foundation led by Hazrat Mia Mir. Okay, famous for free community meals, that is langar, and gold, we can say, plated architecture. Okay, so this is about the Golden Temple. Then we have the Shri Lily Festival. So basically, it is held in Ukrul in Manipur. This is very important. कभी भी पूछा जा सकता है. Celebrate the endangered Shiruli lily. Features cultural and the eco-friendly events, and this is a unique Manipur highlights in a state, we can say, symbol. And then we have the prostate cancer. So basically, common in the older men, and Joe Biden's diagnosis brought into focus. Okay, Joe Biden, the former, we can say, president of US. Risk factor, age, family history, lifestyle, and treatment includes surgery, hormone therapy, radiation, and the chemotherapy. All that. So this is called as the, we can say, prostate cancer. Okay. Then we have the three more issues. So यहाँ पे elimination of the trachoma. So basically, India certified trachoma free by WHO, and trachoma is an eye disease. Eye disease है ये, caused by bacteria infection, and mainly affects children in crowded and unsanitary areas. Okay, so this is the eye, we can say, disease, which is called as the trachoma. Then we have digital initiative in PDS. So Depot Darpan, it rates Depot, we can say, performance using IoT, Internet of Things. Then we have the Anamitra, mobile app for PDS staff to track stock. Then we have the Anya Sahayata, which is chatbot and IVRS enabled complaint resolution system. So these are some of the, we can say, news bites which we should be understanding, because many times they will be asking. Recently it was in news, it is related to what, so uske liye it is important. So this PDF we will be providing you can later on also refer to. Okay, then we have enhances digital service for overseas citizen of India and provides visa free access, education parity, but with limits on political and government roles, we can say. Okay, so this is all about today's session, and we will be completing the session now. So I hope the kind of issues that we have discussed, you have been able to understand, and it will be helping you in solving such kind of current affairs questions in your exam. Okay, so I'm going to conclude the session. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.